future of our resources. Fiona. Partly.
Like new materials that we'll be using?
Maybe. Did, you saw the Snaifer's presentation this morning. What do you... Les unconscious resources concrete? No. Material? Can it be thoughts?
Thoughts? Sure.
Afkar?
Yes.
I'm asking a question. You can be okay or not. Exactly. Why? To overflow. بس هذا البلاستيك اللي عم نرجع نعمل له ريسيكلاج من الفنتو is it still friendly, sustainable? لا عم نحكي عن سو بدنا نعملها انرجي كيف بدك تعملها انرجي؟ No, about are you talking about burning it? Are you talking about transforming it into something else? Are you talking about because energy is usually you have to store something to have it. I'm just having a conversation. Excellent. Okay, that's the actual
Maybe it can be some type of new plant. For example, in London, they're trying to work on a plant where they like to use the greenery walls. So they're working on a plant which absorbs the CO2 and gives and gives oxygen. And they're trying to work on how they install it in like all types of architecture.
Interesting. So it will be embedded in materials?
Yes, it's like a greenery wall mixed with wood and stuff, like more of a decorative element. But at the same time, it helps the environment.
Does it already exist? Are they modifying it? Or if they are working, how do they work on us?
Yes, it exists. But they're trying to make it like more better looking. Like they're trying to install it in a functional way. I think it doesn't need anything to survive. That's why it's working with that. But what I saw is like how they're starting to use it like in all the places in the UK.
But for example, would you live with moss in your house?
I mean, I can use it as like an entrance decorative element or somewhere like where I don't stay constantly. Not a residential area.
Personne n'a vu. See this? Okay, that's it. It's a really interesting concept because can you remind me your name? Yeah, Elise. When I asked you about moss, would you live with moss in your house? Because I was trying to see if the cultural, cliches we sometimes have in our head can impact the way we use some stuff. Because if this moss is really like moss and you see it outside and your mom scraps it with the doll, I would understand if this moss is under another form.
Yes, it looks very appealing. Like at first when you think about moss, it's not very... It doesn't really sound...
But just appealing as a visual or appealing or non-existent?
It looks like a normal plant, and visually it's not disturbing. And the installation overall, it's appealing.
Interesting. Who wants to share also an idea? Or something? or feedback on what you saw. Everything of where what did you prefer? Aside the sign. Did you see the glass furnace? Did you see the pottery furnace? Did you see upstairs the pottery, the wheel turning? Second floor. Okay. And in Adrian, what did you like? Not in Adrian, sorry, in Berro.
The Alba project.
Non négociable. Aside from the Alba projects, what Alba project did you like more?
I like the pockets that we did. I don't know, I forgot what they were called.
السرعة لا بالضبط لا كلوز هيك حلو بالضبط كده حلو بس هذيك يجوز حد حرام ايه حلو كتير
مين عنده كمان شيء ثاني كعربي اكشن بعد ما بلشنا؟ مين طلع يعمل ضمن كمان؟
ربع
وزوبا
ربع
هاي هو
قولي
شو طلع بالانجليزي؟
لنا شو حبيت؟
We saw the Alba project about I think it was the new machine.
بتقدري تستعمليه؟ معقولة أنظم؟
Yes.
Unfortunately. شو كمان؟
بالألبا أرحب.
ما سمعت؟
بس بالألبا أرنوز.
This is awesome.
أحلى شيء إنه كلهم بينقوا وكلهم مبسوطين.
We have to. إذا أنا
إيه نحن بنقال the happiest faculty.
That's a smart idea. You are the happiest, the best people.
happiest, yes.
How is happiest, the best people?
Can I say something about what you were talking today?
Yes. Is she? Yes.
And let's say I'm like in my everyday life, instead of throwing a trash out the window, I say to myself, okay, let me keep it, I'll throw it at home. But if the guy that's collecting the trash from my home is just throwing them, dumping them anywhere, and what's the point of me recycling? I love your point. Yes, and two, it's like when we go to a restaurant and عندي leftovers, بقول له please إنه أنا ما بدي إياهم take away بس ما تكتبوا. Really sorry, we have a policy, everything is thrown to the trash, not even given to homeless or anything.
هون انت وصلتي على البلديه. بدي اقول لك قبل ما نوصلنا على البلديه لازم يكون لنا right when I vote for the بلديه for the municipality. I vote for people talking my language مش لانه بيقربوني وابن الحزب X. I'm not saying anything but just to be accurate. So بنتخب عادة العالم اللي بيعرفوا بيوصلوا لي مشروعي. لأنه أنت as you know اسألي أهلك لما تدفعي بلدية عم تدفعي للcollect of garbage. كيف بيجوا هني؟ ما بيعملوا شيء ببلديتك يفرزوا أو يعملوا لأنه بيطلع له الكوميشن من يلي عم يعمل كونكت بتروكس على التوناج. لما انت تنرجع بطريقه ثانيه تكوني عم تفرزي ما بتعطيها للبلديه. اول شغله انا بحكي مع التلاميذ when you start هلا تكون ضبطت الاوضاع وتقدروا انتم تقرروا مين بدكم يجي وباي اجنده، بتضلي بتفتشي على اقرب من الا مرفح وليكي و you take your sorting things whatever you take it to them. وفي كثير عالم بلبنان ورفر يا ريتوا انتم واكيد اساتذتكم اهم مني بالجامعه عنا بنشجعهم يا either bring it to university او يفتشوا I got the list for them لاي محل هني to whom they can give it and don't trash until you have the upper power. Do the best you can. Hey first. Second thing قلتيلي لما بالدوغي فود أنا بلبنان جربت أشتغل مع كثير مؤسسات تخليهم to start sorting ومنهم الفود لأنه ما في لو لا من البلدية ولا من الريتيل سنتر ولا من أي عم يدعوا مع إنه هني إذا ما بدهم يطعموه لحدا فيهم يطعموه للجيش فيهم يطعموه لإكسي جريج فيهم يعملوا compost. When there is a will, everything is possible. But they don't want وعبلهونا إنه we don't have the choice. Go as it is. It is time for us to say it got to stop. We need to change the system. This is my say.
عندي هو. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can proceed again. Yes. So, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Future of Our Resources panel. Welcome to our nice panelists. So this panel is a conversation that invites us to reflect on our past and our present, to imagine another future, an ethical and sustainable future, one that redefines our relationship to what we call resources, through a cultural and ecological lens, with materials, systems, environments, and that sustain us. So, this discussion takes place within the framework of our educational hub Alpha Design. So, this is where design, culture, and ecology intersect to inspire us in new ways of thinking and making. This collaboration reflects our ongoing vision to open our academic space to the public and foster meaningful dialogue between students, professionals, and the wider community. So, let me introduce you to our speakers. First of all, Dalida Snaifer, welcome. Dalida is the co-founder and coordinator of GenUS USEC, leading sustainability initiatives at the university for the past 10 years. Guided by the belief that every action counts, she has fostered a campus culture where environmental responsibility, innovation, and collaboration thrive. And I think you can sense this from her presentation. Berro, welcome Dana. Dana describes herself as a designer shaped by many homes across the globe. Her work is guided by curiosity and never-ending questions, drawing from multidisciplinary perspectives and expressed through critical research, curation, product, and graphic design. She is currently pursuing a master's in eco-social design at HSNU Switzerland, continuing to design for knowledge exchange. Welcome, Dan. Serge Harfoush. So, Serge is a farmer, an activist, a co-founder of Buzurna Juzurna. Buzurna Juzurna is an association started with a small idea in 2016 to produce high-bloom, non-hybrid, non-GMO seeds and make them available to local communities in Lebanon as part of a wider effort to work towards food sovereignty and not safety. We're coming back to this. And he is introducing us to concepts of agroecology and alternative systems to live with our land. And welcome, Serge. Adrian. Adrian Muller is an anti-disciplinary architect, artist, writer, pyromancer, designer of objects, and maker of substance. The third generation of lineage, of others, ceramic arts and industry, Adrian was born and raised on the family brick factory in Mount Lebanon, where he grew up surrounded by clay, craft, and manufacturing, experimenting humanity's oldest technology through multiple lenses. Welcome all. So, we are here to discuss where we stand and why we do, what we do, and how we do it, to be very simple. As we are on a crucial intersection, you are the generation who's going to build our future, and I think you have very important questions, as we were talking beforehand, on how to do it and why to do it. So, let's begin by a very simple question. What is a resource for you? All of you. Keep malicious, go ahead.
A resource. So, for us, a resource is something that is already there and that we can use to produce something else. And in our case, the resource is water, soil, seeds, and humans as a whole. Yani knowledge, labor, because labor is extremely important and we forget about it most of the time. And
it's invisible.
Huh?
It's invisible.
It's invisible, and it's what actually keeps us alive. So everything everyone ate today comes from the labor of someone else. So Holland.
Déjà here.
Yeah.
Dalida, you want to, can you have your point of view?
I have a point of view saying that the resource, how you're living the way you live, he said about the food, the way you're sitting in a comfortable, air-conditioned place, on a comfortable seats, everything is resources around you. Even what you consider as a trash, for us, are resources. So we need to start think. Now we will have the design, the eco-design, the creativity, all, but everything you see is resources. Everything you touch, you feel, is considered resource.
Dana, what's your point of view on this?
I think the only thing I can add to that is to expand on the idea of perception and how we understand, how we've understood resources from ancient civilization to today is different from what resources are moving forward. So I think perception is something extremely important to focus on and to understand what resources can be, what is the potential of resources to become.
Thank you.
For me, it's a bit similar to both. Ahmed's response, everything's a resource. What is a resource and when is relative. So we kind of go back to perception. Especially when you have a scarcity of a resource and you really feel it, then you know this is like you've been sleeping on this resource for so long. But yeah, it's the lens through which you look at something that will make it a resource.
invisible also value like labor, but is culture, ideas, for example, you are an artist also. Is this a resource? Immaterial. Art, they consider resources.
An endless resource. Actually, yeah, an endless ways of combining and creating new resources.
Do you share this point of view? Because it's not a commodity, or is it? I'm asking everybody now.
Let me say
I would
something.
like to ask,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me, from the beginning, tell you I talk a lot, so bear with me. What I want to say, what he showed us, he used pieces, broken pieces, were worth, like in the traditional linear way, worth trashing. But you turned it in an object that the value had become resources existing, helping us, extending the life of the material, and giving us a joy, because in spiritual and philosophical aspect, when I see something artistically made, that beautiful, resonating with what I feel, it resonates the language of beauty. And this is what resources, adding to the definition we gave, it gave a new perspective to the resources. It transcends the language of beauty. And this is what you did. And that's it.
It was really impressive. Serge, we come from a totally different, we're all in more or less in creative fields. You come from a totally different point of view. So this idea of as a material, do you share it? Or
The idea of?
That material are also resources. That ideas are also resources, excuse me.
Ideas are also resources, yes, of course, in the sense that you need to have them in order to implement something. So if you take the approach of the agroecology that we do, you know what agroecology is?
Can you explain actually to the nice?
Okay, agroecology is producing food in an ecological system. So it's basically setting up an ecosystem that gives you food. So it is the opposite of industrial agriculture, right? So the whole idea of agroecology is sustaining where we live with the resources, including the ideas, and not wasting them, reusing and recreating. So in that case, yes, of course, you need new ideas. You need to be creative in order to solve problems. You need to be adaptable because there are more and more fluctuations, and the climate is changing, and it is upon us, and all that. So we do need that. We do need the creativity. But then again, since it is not a creative process in its beginning, it becomes creative afterwards. The first part of it is first labor, and then creativity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can just add something.
Of course.
I would be a bit aware of defining ideas as a resource only because we don't want to take away from the idea that, or the reality that the true resources, the material resources are finite. And we can, if we start to philosophize a bit too much on the definition of resources, we might steer away from the true needs that we have.
I agree. I'm not supposed to go by opinion, but I does anyone want to add something about what she just said?
What I want to say, add something. That's why I gave the example of what Adrian, right, is doing. He took something, the value of it, broken pieces, it was considered, if it's financed, 0. But when he turned it, how much the piece would value. Then, if you want to put it not as artistic and beautiful and give us the well-being, it gave a huge value to the piece. It came out from his idea and creativity. So somehow the ideas, when they are put to work, especially when they are that transcending. They give you that. This is what I can add.
I agree too. I'm gonna go to another point of view of the team. The definition of our systematic inside of Lebanon revival. The general theme was Lebanon revival, and we had so many sub-themes. So in future of our resources, we were defining that the past and the present were the base towards so finding out new systems and new ways of using these resources. Adrian and Serge, you talked about a lot of your past, your own past, personal past, cultural past, traditions, etc. How much this is shaping the way you are trying to impact on the future ways of using these resources, since we are in another framework of thinking, of industrialization, of needs, of economic realities. So how would you reflect on that?
I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, so the way we work in itself is sometimes described as something old and
dépassé,
and then they go like, yeah, you want to send us back to how our grandparents used to do. I don't want to work with the donkey, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. The problem is we are getting to a point in the situation of the planet where there are many things you are used to now that are the fruit of the last 50 or 100 years of progress. But they have limits. You were saying the resources are finite, they are limited. So these are a very important thing to keep in mind. And also that the climate in itself is in such bad shape and fluctuation kind of system, so we don't have anything stable anymore, we cannot predict anymore, which means that the system we're using right now, which is the modern system, is very fragile. It is going to break at some point. If you get a huge flood, all the roads that you've built, any terrain you've done, you cannot use them because you have something a lot bigger that is destroying everything. So when you have floods, if you're using the industrial way of producing food, you're fucked. There's no food, right? You get to a point, there is no actual. So the idea of using the past is actually because they have the knowledge. It's thousands of years of knowledge being applied and bettered and selected until we got to this point, and then suddenly in 100 years we want to erase all of that. It's absurd. So the idea of using what we know from the past without staying there. I'm not saying let's go back to the cave. That's not the point. The point is we have thousands of years of wisdom, plus we have science. Let's use them both.
Exactly.
In order to get somewhere logical. Because we've been using just science in a way. We've been using just the rational part without everything else, without our culture, without our emotions, without everything we're carrying, everything we've inherited. And so that got us to this place now, which is extremely dry and very destructive. I mean, as a system, as a planet system, as a whole system. So how about we stop doing that? How about we use something that was more connected to everywhere we live, that's more connected to the nature we live in, instead of us being facing it and against it? How about we integrate it, like it used to be, but without the superstition, right? Without the stupid beliefs that, let's face it, we have them, we still do have. So, we need to find the balance between those two. So this is the approach I would recommend.
Thank you. Adrian, you want to talk? You have a thought on this?
in my case, the inspiration I draw from, whether intentionally or not, is obviously the past and the environment I grew up in the family brick factory. And also the future, like where is this going? The factory itself, the material, its production in Lebanon or not. And then, obviously, I've studied in architecture, and that brings a different dimension to how I look at things. And you can't really put a finger on how one thing informs the other, but there's a legacy of working with the earth in a technology that's the oldest one, which is ceramics, which is largely unchanged. Obviously, it's gotten extremely advanced in certain uses, but the way we use it and the way that it's broken down is still the same. So, in that sense, there's like a embodied knowledge and archive in the material and in how it's being used and treated. So, you can't break away from the past so cleanly and move forward, and why would you want to in the first place? And then the environment I'm working in, which is basically intersection of industry and economy, because you have to sell what you make and you have to buy materials. And there's a reality on the ground that you have to work and to maneuver within. But the domain of art basically is like can function as an arena to challenge and test certain ideas and then bring them back into the mainstream or the commercial aspect or the built environment. You push forward something that's maybe very too poetic to be applied, but what you take away from that, which is built on all the past experience and the knowledge you brought to that point. You can't predict how it will evolve and what it will give you next, so there's something very embedded in the process of just working with what's around you, what exists, finding the value in that, whether it's knowledge passed down or whether it's materials available or not available. And just let go and trust the process and see what comes out.
Can I just add one small thing? I think all of you being here in a creative field, you might have some pressure to innovate. What's the next big thing that you're gonna do? And it's a lot of pressure, but if you take a look around, take a look at what has been done, what has passed, what we're in today, you'll find so much that you can do. And we don't always need the next big, great thing. So it's something that we can focus on today.
Absolutely. Very nice. Dalida, I would like also to have your opinion. I don't know if we can talk about traditions or things with waste, but maybe there is. Waste did not just appear out of nowhere when plastic were invented. So how is your position?
Let me tell you, when we talk sustainability in general, we talk about people, planet, and fair growth, profit, P, the 3 P. What we have learned from agriculture or industry, mass production, they started to work on our resources for their own profit, neglecting the human part, to a bit that human became slave to the industry and to the mechanism. If at work you do not produce efficiently, you're out. So what I want to say, sustainability will set you back to where you are, in an area from where you are. Produce and eat according to your local area. So I am with, when we look after environment, ecology, we are looking after the people, the quality of our resources, and how to maintain it for future. Why do we need the resources? As I said, we can adapt, but how to thrive on this planet, how to live the way we're living, we need to adapt, accommodate, respect where we are. Unless we go back, as Serge, to the things we learned, adding to it the scientific parameters, I'm not sure we can make it. This is my point.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
let's just add one thing to this. It's not going back anymore. It's
It was.
yeah. There
It's
is no,
impossible.
there is no going back. There is no going back to how we lived in the 90s or the 2000s, and there is no going back to the 1800s or the minus 1000. We only have the future. Right, so we also need to have this perspective shifted as well, because there's always this discourse of it's
gonna go
aggressive. So there is this does not make any sense. It's not viable. However, we can use the wisdom.
Exactly. So I'm going to just comment on this because when Serge was presenting, one person in the audience opened a very interesting topic, which is romanticism.
Yes.
Of
Yes.
what you are saying. So
As if it was an insult. Also said leftist as if it was an
yes,
insult.
also. But this comes from the industry. So this is what's interesting. I want to reflect on that because the discourse that is now mainstream is a very romantic one. We have to go back to the nature, etc. They don't clarify this as a point it's a very important point you made, that we are not going back, we are extracting something and using it differently in another framework or point of view. Do you, Adrian, or do you, Dalida, have the same issue with romantic images and leftist cliches, if you want?
Okay. The point, I'll give you examples. When we do things, we say at work, in my field with students, we said to them, let's upcycle. Every time they think it should be something, with plastic or ugly, which is not. When we upcycle, when we do anything respecting environment, ecology, and whatever it's when you do it with beautiful and new perspective, you're going forward, not backward to the way they used. I love our ancient way, but we cannot live it. Now, who from us can live without internet? Who from us cannot live, the things are moving. We adapt while respecting. In the ecosystem, every species respect the other and help it sustain its living. We are living in that ecosystem. And if we respect that ecosystem, we, us as a human, can live respecting the whole system without going back to the Stone Age. I believe in that. I agree. I cannot agree more.
Right?
For me, this notion of that's romantic lens, when I hear someone say that, I just feel that underneath that statement they share the same sentiments. I wish it was easier, but it's too romantic, that's why it's not working. So it just tells me you're saying the same thing, you just find it to be better, not this way. Okay, think of a way, propose one. His question or his comment was, okay, I agree, what's the way to make the private sector adopt this, and so on. Which, it's true. When he was saying that, I felt like maybe my presentation coming after yours might show a way to not solve anything, but maybe even more romantic and poetic on my side. But you're just practical, you're making things easier, meeting people, and I'm just playing again. But somehow I felt that might have given him a way to look at, okay, maybe we look at it through a different channel, to channel the urgent need or narrative or information and knowledge sharing, whatever, through some other thing that doesn't feel like some sustainability conference or checklist or something dry or too leftist or whatever that means. I don't think it's one approach. I think obviously these notions are romanticized because the reality of the world we're in is so extreme in one direction, with vaccines being extinction and planets, companies providing these hybrid seeds basically, and losing so much diversity and all that. It sounds so dramatic because because it is. So if you say, oh, let's go back to that, it's like, how are you going to fight these things? That's too romantic. And you're just basically agreeing that this is something enormous, you know, and something fundamental or human. And maybe you're scared to look it in the eye and say, okay, how should we go forward without being perceived as, you know, like
it's like a shield.
rioting
Putting
is.
a word, exactly. Putting a word not to have to deal with this issue. Then
Yes.
I would like to have your comment.
So, one of the big questions I have written down is how do we appeal to the conscience of someone? So, this man was very clearly driven by business and making things big scale and all that stuff and exporting. But the question is, if we ask a man who's exploiting the commons, which is our resources, to stop in the name of conscience, what does he hear? What are we saying and what does he hear? The one study shows that people are usually stuck in a double bind. So one, they hear, if you don't do as we ask, we will openly condemn you for not acting like a responsible citizen. The second, if you do behave as we ask, we will secretly condemn you as a fool who can be shamed while the rest of us exploit the commons. And so it's truly, there's no answer to this question. And the issue with something like this is that there is no technical solution. By technical, I mean, like, you can't just solve this with technology. You have to, or we have to mutually agree on what we want and what we need and what's necessary in order for this to move forward. And this goes on so many levels of pollution and food and population growth. And so it's something so difficult to tackle. So I understand when somebody from the crowd was asking, like, yeah, but what am I supposed to do with my trash if anyway the government doesn't care? And I can understand you, and I cannot say you're wrong. And so I think the challenge here is for you as a creative to find your own answer and work within these realms.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting. Do you want to add anything to this?
Can you say something on the romanticism?
Yes. I love you.
Because
It's bugging you.
it's very important.
Yeah.
Like, what's the problem with romanticism, right?
We have to be actually to keep the hope.
I'm a hopeless romantic. I know that. I'm an incurable optimist, right? The problem with romanticism is when there's only romanticism. There's no action, there's no plan, there's nothing. It's just, okay, we dream, we take nice pictures, and then we do nothing. And this is where it becomes a problem.
Okay.
But when you show something nice and beautiful and flowers and shit, but behind it there was the labor and the work for it and the research and the common work of everyone and the agreement on, you know, when you have a community that is behind it, then there is no real problem, right? The problem is in the inaction, not in the idea itself.
Let me add one thing to what Serge said. Peter Senge said, you know who's Peter Senge? He's one of the best business mind. He will say, the humankind, especially the youth, start to be adult in a negative way when they stop dreaming. Let's keep on dreaming and building Lebanon. This is what we need. Otherwise, we're stuck in the system they did. So it's for you to keep on dreaming.
I totally agree. And thank you both for the transition, because I was going to talk about implementation, scalability, and institutions, so it's perfect. So, we know we are not a collaborative country, let's say, with no institution whatsoever, and even when, like in this campus, we try, Michelle will agree with me, try to implement ideas or systems or initiatives, etc., usually it goes flat. So, what can we do in your own point of view? We come from an academic background, but we would like to have your opinion as professionals, as dreamers, as romantics, or as thinkers. How can we implement or spark something with these youth to convince them of les faire passionner their passions and with what is our passion.
Who wants to take it?
I'll take it, but I'm sorry for that.
I'm happy. Okay, I think you have the most experience in this in all of us. I think you should begin actually.
Okay, let me tell you, and I read you, I feel you, Michel. The first thing when we started something, we were on our own. Go and do something. If you fail, it's on you. If we win, it's on us. For me, I didn't care about all of this. What I cared is how to make my ego flourish, how to change the mindset. My only ally I can say for the last 10 years were the students. They read me. Whenever I say we have at USEC the greatest group helping us to make us grow the students. Why? They know it is we fighting their fight. When I say future generation, the resources of tomorrow, for who? For me? I got 1 year left. 1 year, 2 years, I don't know. But it is for them. When they know we talking about them, they are here. It is for us, sure, to manage them, to give them a clear vision, what we want to do, not everything at once. Now, this semester we want to do this, how we can process, how to keep on. We have a system we call PDCA, plan, do, check, act, and redo. We never settle. In Lebanon, when they started, it was like ages ago, when they started to putting a fine on the seat belts, everybody started doing it. Everybody faking it, doing it, afraid of the fine. Once the fine started, everybody went loose. That means you keep on following, you keep on doing, checking the same thing, honest to your principles, and they feel you. And you start to see the crowd coming behind you. And keep on forging. It will be done.
How long has it for you been?
10 years. No.
That's easy.
I know it's a lot. Still not yet, but still.
Getting there.
Yes.
And you were saying,
Yes.
when you said that maybe we're a very collaborative culture or country or whatever, what came to mind was a sense of maybe survivalism that causes that. Everyone's just out for themselves, like survival, you're on your own now, fend for yourself. And there's like a hierarchy of needs and things you can act on.
Totally.
And you need to be secure to be able to then collaborate and do that. But the way I see it is survival is going to be contingent on collaborating. It already is. So the fact that we're having this conversation is telling me that. Or you say 10 years, like it sounds like a long time. What is that? In this game, like a basketball. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's nothing.
Or like a rock becoming clay. Or just when you look at that bigger time scale and locality, then what's a lifetime dedicated to living rights, you know?
Yes.
And okay, you can't do it in every action, but generally having top of mind, being aware of it, invite these conversations. But yeah, I think the way forward for us and this country and elsewhere is, it's contingent on collaborating. You don't know.
And not listening to the older generation, maybe.
And what's that?
Not listening to the older generation, maybe.
Yeah, I think
More evolution.
sometimes, not listening for more reasons than one. Maybe then not knowing better, or maybe then resisting because of like the implications of accountability of them admitting what's been wrong or neglected or what's necessary to change for the way forward. And it's not an easy ask to say, okay, start sorting, and then what? So let's go and see anyway. Like the layers of peel away resistance and negativity and trust same place, which is, I mean, I'm sure you can weigh in on that perspective.
So révolte-moi.
I mean, I completely agree. There's so much complexity in this, and I feel education. That's the way forward, and not just by reading, but by doing, by trying, by failing. I truly believe in the power of education, because education was also freedom, and because my freedom is dependent on yours, and dependent on hers, and everybody else's. I think this is the way forward.
I agree. And education is a form of revolution also in a certain way.
Absolutely, and it's necessary that we keep up with this. It needs to be constantly refreshed. This is something you learn, and you keep learning, and you keep learning.
You'll eventually get there. Go ahead.
About collaboration and the fact that where is the passion and all of that. What you're saying is extremely true. There is no other way for the future except in collaboration. So basically in nature, when there is a scarcity of resources, all of nature is collaborating. So a fungus is getting sugars for a tree, who's getting leaves for an animal, who's getting, I don't know, it's waste for the soil, etc. So the more scarcity, the more collaboration. Right? So in the forest, it's not true that the law of the jungle is the survival of the fittest. This is actually profound bullshit. It's just taking one very small part
and they go for it.
And so basically, the whole Darwinian theory has been cut down to 10% of it. So it is not the survival of the fittest, it is the survival of the more adaptable.
That's it.
And the more adaptable is the more collaborative, right? So this is from it's not some big words, it's actually scientifically proven. So we have the data that shows, that proves that the more you collaborate, the better you survive.
Read the book, The Tree Stalks.
The secret language of trees.
The
secret language of trees.
You should read it. You should see how collaborative forests will do to survive, as he said.
It's magic, and the book is magic itself. It's you discover that there's actually internet under the ground.
Yes.
It's crazy.
And we talk about our being smart.
We're nothing. Anyways. So that's from the, let's say, nature forest example, right? A very more down-to-earth example of collaboration. The last war, like when it started last September, right?
Yes.
Like the actual in situ, let's call it, the direct attack on Lebanon.
Yes.
It took us less than 24 hours to organize. In less than 24 hours, we were able, as a civil society, to organize canteens, places for people to stay, shelters, mattresses, food.
Transportation, medical services.
It took us, we have it. We have the reflex. We don't do it in normal times, right? Because we're taken by consumerism and individualism and the false promises of the American dream and that kind of. We can call it anything else, but you see what I mean.
Yes.
And false urgency. Exactly. And you're running. But when the shit hit the fan, everyone was there. Everyone was collaborating. Everyone was doing their part, whether it's a very small part or a very huge part. And honestly, culturally, in Lebanon and Bilad al-Sham, culturally we are a very collaborative culture. We have a system called al-Auni in the agricultural world.
Even in construction, you say,
al-Auni, and al-Auni, I don't know if you guys,
I'm sure not.
Have you heard about al-Auni?
2000, I think. right بعد ال 2000 الفلانيين شو هو قبل ال 2000 there was this system called, actually no, I'm exaggerating, it was before the 70s. There was a system called the Aoun in the villages, where if you need any kind of help, you just call out for the help. And people will help you build your house, people will help you harvest your land, people will help you make your money. And so the idea was a collective work. And I really believe that we have it in us. You know? We just need to figure out how to use it more, right? Remember it. Maybe it's like an exercise. Maybe a daily exercise of collaboration. Okay? You know, like when you exercise for writing.
Yes.
That
Also,
kind of
team building. They call it team building now, but actually team building used to. Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. So it's just a way of washing, greenwashing, washing everything. Okay, very interesting point. So we were talking about so trying and not stopping, and even though they are putting it in the sea or whatever, this is also a way of reflecting on what we do as a collective, what we do as individual, as we are saying. So I want to talk about responsibility, because we are in the creative field, and I'm coming back to the creative field because it's directly impacts them, but you are in a creative field too, in a certain way. So when we create, we were talking about the urgency of creating the next big thing and how to implement it, and running after, this urgency, Adrian. So as creative, when we are trying to conceive, to analyze, and come up with ideas and products and systems and spaces, etc., the way we think impacts directly the way we are going to implement it, and it impacts directly our context and everything around us. So where in this chain our responsibility comes as from using resources or not using resources or diverting resources. So if there is no need for this, as you were saying, why are we still creating? What are we still creating, and why are we doing it yet? So we are not inventing anything new, maybe. Everything exists. We already have anything and everything. So what is the point of the objective, the sense of what we are doing as creative people? In mirror of the resources issue. I'm going to ask Dalida first, because maybe not in the creative, but as a person in academia and working with creatives, I would like to have your point of view concerning, students with beautiful projects and their way of shaping things. How do you react or return on this?
Let me say first, when you create, you are coming out of the normal, as she said. This is what we usually do. When I want to create something, it means I'm stepping out of my comfort boundaries to do something. And this is courage, because you're stepping out. And first, when you get famous or known, whatever I do, there we go, wow. But when you are new, you are going into you are the seagull of the sea, like you are discovering, taking chances. Yeah, this is a book as well, another book it's nice to read. I thought you read it. Anyway, so when you start to create, what does it mean create? You see something, either by innovation or giving different perspective and go out of the normal to give it. You saw something beautiful, you want to express it. You saw something missing, you want to create solution. And this is where creativeness is. Now, when you do that, to apply to it's kind of artistic, but there is, before going there, I want to say, it takes lots of courage to do it. Once you first step out. And then, when you see you succeeding, you start to align all your knowledge, scientific, passion, love, everything, you align it for the service of what you see. There is a Japanese thing, we call it ikigai, which finding the true self in you. When you know it, you start talking to yourself, to that inner core, and you start creating. And once, for instance, you, like us, you love, you cherish the environment, you put everything at the service of this, using the resources, existing, not existing, whatever you have in hand, to showcase the love for the thing you love. And I hope one day you love nature and the environment too. I hope I get your point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Dana, would you like to reflect on this, because you have the most objective point of view on this?
It's really, it feels a bit hard to define the responsibility of a designer, of a creative, because I talk a little bit about this on Sunday, but it's like when somebody, there's an example that when somebody designs more comfortable shelters for the homeless, it's like, what are you really doing? And you're creating diversions from people who should be taking responsibility for the core issue, which is homelessness. And so it's difficult because then you can counter argue and you can say, well, what if we need diversions, but what about dealing with the situation right now in this moment before someone else can take responsibility? So taking responsibility as a designer, it's a very fluid definition, and I think I would say that wherever you can intervene in the most ethical manner, I would try to do so. I don't know if that made sense.
Oh, yeah, because it's like you're taking out maybe le fardeau ou le poids de la responsabilité sur les corps in French, and putting in perspective par rapport à ce qu'on est en train de faire. So, yeah, it's
I'll add one thing. I know there's this is when we talk about greenwash any kind. If I do it for the sake of, this is a greenwash. When I do something, an act, I should, as you remember, you started the who, the why, and how. I should state why I'm doing it. What's the purpose? How I'm going to reach my creativity, my innovation, how it will serve my end goal. And
so
then
empathy. Maybe the answer is empathy.
Not just empathy, you have to put with it science, knowledge, data, well-structuring, procedure, what am I getting, what are the risks, you measure the risk, is it, then you go for it. You cannot just go because I'm impulsive, I love to help, I'll jump in the sea, I don't know how to swim. No, I need to, and this is when you are really passionate.
Great. Thank you, Dalida. Adrian or Serge, do you have anything to say on this? No, yeah, you have responsible of feeding people, so you are the biggest one, maybe. It's Adrian.
For me, I would say to your point, your question about the creation of creativity. I ask myself sometimes, is everything that you can create was great? That's one question I have. The other is this feeling that I get that creation is one of the impulses of nature. The things that get big. Now, if your impulse is to go make money,
you put it in a very interesting frame. So from what you said, do you have anything to add? We talked about source structure and system and organization and maybe you talked about law before we even began and state structure. So what would be the points you would advise our students to push upon or to upon if they have something in priorities they have to go after?
As well, I'll start. I'm sure you heard of SDGs. When you know your SDGs, and I hope you'll get it Sustainable Development Goals, and you look around you and you will see.
Yes, we don't know what SDGs.
The SDGs, the UN. I'm not going to go by history. By 2015, all the countries got together at what we call COP15 and came up with goals which help the human, the planet, and how to have fair growth. They have set 17 goals. These goals differentiate, as I said, between a planet, people, and the fair growth. When they have set it, they have set for us standards on which we know it's right or wrong toward people, towards the planet, or the growth. So once you get to know it and look around you, you can see, you can start as a scientific person, I'm sorry to say scientific, that because even you are artistic or not, you are scientific. You're studying your elements. So you start to detect what's going on and you start to know this is missing, how can I solve it? You can either solve it by innovation, startups, ideas, or by art. And this is for you. I invite you to be the change. When I said it this morning during my presentation, I meant it. You cannot expect me to break the wall. You are the change makers. As I said again, you have a grid line. You know what should be done and what shouldn't. You are who you are, people of creativity, of innovation. All you got to do, put your passion, empathy, care, and let's get to work to do something for this planet, this nation. This is what I have.
Thank you, Dalida.
Thank you.
I'm going to pass to the questions, but before that, I want to know if you have some things you want to say before we go to the question parts. If you have any comment or feedback or... So, dear students, who has some questions? Not only the students, anyone. Everyone. What's your take on what they are saying? Are you agreeing, not agreeing? Is she going to continue triage plastic? Your friend was asking what is the point, or was asking what is the point of sorting. If it's going to the sea anyway. So do you see the point now or no? You're still not agreeing?
That's like very briefly. I think
You okay?
yeah. I still feel, no, she has a point, okay, if the governments aren't really helping her doing anything, it's like, why should I do it? Because I feel like small initiatives like this, sometimes you can't compare it to like big organizations, and in the end, it's like, if you're doing it, you're doing your part in a way. If you're doing it, other people slowly. We can't control. That's the thing, you can't control what the government's gonna do, and you can't be like, okay, if the government's not doing it, why shouldn't I? It's like,
Going too fast, but I am.
Really?
It's too fast, yes.
It's like, if I'm doing it, unless I'm doing this, it's my, for me, it's what I believe, my morals, my values. وعم has shit in my life, and like, hopefully that would inspire people, like, later on.
I love it. Well done.
فيكم تحكوا عربي إذا بتحبوا مرتاحين فيه.
Do you mind if I say something about doing it or not doing it?
Yes, please.
The thing is, now the way we look at it, and this is going to seem a bit dark, but there is nothing else to do. There is nothing else. We're already a bit late with the planet, so if we don't take care about our stuff, we don't have, 20, 30, 40 years, and then what? So the idea of complete despair is the idea that it's also complete hope, right? So you're not doing it because it's worth something or it's waste of something. You're doing it because there's actually nothing else to do. What? We're going to continue doing what we've been doing for the past 50 years and producing stuff we don't need and just killing everything on this planet. It doesn't, it's beyond absurd. So with the idea of being a human now, especially with everything that's happened in the past 2 years and how much we've seen what a human, what a disgusting thing a human can be. So now our only ethical direction is actually being what a good human is, if that makes sense. There is nothing else to do. What else are we going to do? Just keep on traveling and burning petrol and taking selfies and eating plastic. Like, you see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, this kind of future. So the other kind of future, which is the regenerative future, is the only way forward. وَأَلَّا لَا شُكْرَ خلينا نضبط. Right?
Sorry, but you're saying, we have to act. We're in despair. We're reaching the point where there's no return. But it feels like people don't act unless they reach السخن. خلاص السخن they react. But unfortunately, people seem to be clueless and neglect the fact for the past 70 years. How can we go louder? Something that can break their attention from their phones, at least.
Yes, very quickly, very honestly, I don't want to break the attention of anyone from their phone. The idea is not to get people to do something. The idea is, are you conscious? If you are, that's perfect. Start doing something.
Yes.
The rest of it is honestly not your responsibility nor mine. We cannot carry this kind of weight. It's not your responsibility to wake the world up.
But unfortunately, we're reaching a point where we're gonna all go to our inevitable death.
This is the peace we need to make with the decisions of those who were before us, right? So this is where you get into Oriental philosophies, where you do detachment and you know, because we have passed the point.
Yes.
Right? The point of no return was in 74, I think, so it was a very long time ago. The first Rome, rapport de Rome. But the idea is, خلاص, why waste your energy on waking people up when your example in itself, doing it in itself, can make a lot of change. Great example is Dalida as a person,
Yes.
right? Dalida is not running around knocking on doors saying, wake up people. No, she set up a sorting facility. We have trash, we sort it, right? So it's action. And I honestly, truly believe that all we need is action. We don't need to blah blah and make reels and stories and shit so that people wake up. People don't wake up, in general.
Lots of people don't know. But they don't know. They don't want to know.
I think it's there's a philosopher, Adam Smith, in 1759 started thinking exactly kind of what you're thinking. So it's something that has been discussed for so long, the question he asked was, if tomorrow you find out that 1 million people in China are going to die from an earthquake, versus tomorrow they're going to cut off your little finger. Like, think of what, like how much can humans see when it's not really happening to you, or it's not felt directly and immediately by you.
Yeah, that backs up my point that we're not gonna react until we touch the heat. And people are lazy until it's about them, unfortunately. That's what I'm trying to reiterate.
That's okay.
And that's okay.
It's true, and also I had a professor in sociology that once made me feel so much better, because he told me, think of how many, if there's a process that you have, think of how many actors are in your process. How many things can go wrong? But you still need to do your part.
Yes.
You still need to do your part, and that's the key here.
Thank you, that's a great response for you. Thank you so much.
Just to add on it, basically there's no pressure on you as an individual.
That's it.
Don't think that you have to.
Right?
The people, the mass, it's always going to be the mass. It's not
I want to give one example. Go on. I have, my sister lives in France and her son lives as well there. Where they live, they sort, they do everything ecologically. And they call the syndrome Fadi syndrome. Fadi, when in France, following the rules of France, he is perfect. Sorting his trash, driving his eco car. When he comes to Lebanon, everything, is different Fadi. What I want to say, unless we change from inside, no municipality, no law, no government can set upon you what you should do. It should come from us, our responsibility, our obligation toward ourselves and our nature. This is what I can end my say.
Sorry, I want to add something to this. Forget the others, okay? Think just about yourself. You cannot act as if you don't know what's happening, okay? Because it happens that you're in a school where you are learning and you are creating, and so you are faced with these facts, okay? So you're not lying to yourself, okay? You cannot lie to yourself. So these information, you have them in yourself, okay? If you don't act, how would you feel with yourself? Forget the rest. I mean, even if you do something, and I don't know who I was talking to about this. For example, personally, I'm going to share a personal experience. I've done a small installation out of earth in the middle of a public garden in Beirut. It lasted for 1 year. After 1 year, it got broken from people from the neighborhood. I was not sad, really, and I surprised myself not being sad, because for me I did what I had to do, right? And it doesn't matter how the rest will respond. The only fact that I did it, this is what I could do, and it was enough for me. So I'm not thinking about the rest. It's just what you need to do to be authentic and loyal to yourself. That's it.
Any other question?
I want to thank you one by one for this very interesting conversation and all the ideas and conception we had. And I want to thank you also for listening and for asking and for participating. So, any last words? Thank you so much. It was great.